On the surface, the boxes are all checked. You have the stable job, the relationships are functional, the home is quiet. There is no looming crisis or sudden tragedy to point to. By every external metric, life is entirely fine. Yet, you wake up feeling fundamentally disconnected from your own day. It's a specific, heavy exhaustion, the kind that persists after 8 hours of sleep and follows you through the weekend. Because there's no logical disaster to blame, your mind performs a quiet, reflexive trick. It turns the judgment inward. You start telling yourself that you're just being lazy. You wonder why you're so ungrateful for a life that looks good on paper. You dismiss the feeling as overthinking, because logically you have no reason to be this tired. But the fatigue you're feeling is a documented psychological state. It is emotional exhaustion, a physiological reality that has nothing to do with your willpower or your gratitude. To understand the source of that fatigue, we have to look at your internal accounting. This is your emotional energy balance. What feels like a character flaw is actually a very simple, invisible crisis of numbers. By ignoring the exhaustion because our lives look fine from the outside, we fail to diagnose a deficit that is steadily draining us from the inside out. Every interaction you have is a withdrawal from this account. Making high-stakes decisions at work, managing the invisible logistics of a household, or absorbing the stress of a partner. These all carry a specific emotional price tag. The question is why we allow ourselves to spend so much of this currency so quickly, even when we can feel the account hitting zero. For many of us, this spending is tied to our sense of virtue. We've been conditioned to believe that being good is simply synonymous with being constantly available and endlessly giving. We measure a woman's value by how well she fulfills her roles: the selfless daughter, the tireless bahoo, the reliable friend, and the perfect colleague. When your identity is built on being the person who catches everyone else, you are culturally incentivized to spend until you have nothing left. This cultural pressure mandates an emotional loss. It traps you in a cycle where your only way to be good is to remain permanently depleted. Take the case of Sunita. She's 33, works at an NGO, and has a stable marriage. There is no drama in her life, but for the last 8 months, she has been living in a state of quiet, unexplained exhaustion. Auditing her daily expenses shows why. Empathetic NGO work, household management, and supporting loved ones pushes her output bar off the charts. Meanwhile, her recharge, a quick tea and late-night TV, is tiny. This compounding deficit plunges her net energy into a deep, unrecoverable red. When the deficit reaches this level, the human system initiates a protective shutdown. It doesn't look like a breakdown. It looks like a withdrawal. This is the absent feeling. You are physically sitting at the dinner table, but your internal self has retreated. You are present, but entirely unreachable. This dissociation is the brain's final defense. It is effectively pulling the master switch to prevent you from spending energy that no longer exists. Feeling numb or disconnected is the logical, mathematical outcome of emotional bankruptcy. The absent feeling is a systemic warning light. It's an urgent indicator that your internal ledger has reached a point of collapse and requires immediate balancing. Recovery begins by accurately naming the condition. Stop dismissing your state as laziness and call it what it is: emotional exhaustion. This shift in language allows you to treat the problem with the clinical respect it deserves. Balancing the books requires a deliberate focus on pure emotional income. This means finding a space where your only role is to receive, a space where no one is asking you to fix, manage, or caretake. For some, that income comes from a therapy session or a private journal. For others, it's a protected walk or 30 minutes of quiet, where the phone is off and the world's demands are paused. Securing this time on your schedule is an act of biological maintenance. Like refueling a car, it is the only way to ensure the system keeps moving. A life built entirely on the needs of others is structurally guaranteed to fail. Without a dedicated source of income, the well will always run dry. You matter, even when you aren't being useful. Protecting your own energy is a vital requirement for a sustainable life.